Pearson is a company that produces educational publications and software, including a program called My Lab, which is used by college students who are studying computer programming to learn languages like C++ and Java. And Pearson recently did an odd thing for a private company. They presented a study they did to the American Association of Educational Research's annual conference. The study involved growth mindset training, which is the hypothesis that if you tell people that intelligence is not fixed, that it can be improved through study and work, then people will actually try harder and they might accomplish more, even if they don't necessarily get more intelligent. It's a fairly recent idea that was originally proposed by Stanford University psychologist Carol S. Dweck, who coined the term mindset theory. And it could have good implications for how to better educate people. So Pearson decided to see if they could insert growth mindset language into their program and get more students to answer more questions correctly. For instance, one is, no one is born a great programmer. Success takes hours and hours of practice. Now, I don't personally find that very motivating, but hey, it's science, right? Let's see what happens. Pearson decided to do what's known in marketing circles as A/B testing to see if this worked. That's where you split your customer base into groups and you give one group the old program, in this case, and one group the new program, and then you check the results against each other to see if your updates did what you wanted. This might sound familiar. It's the same idea as a control group in a scientific experiment. It lets companies get a glimpse of what they can expect before they make a drastic change that they then push to all of their customers. You want to know the difference between A/B testing and controlled scientific experiments? Ethics. And here's why I'm talking about this. Pearson doing an A/B test like this would get no press. In fact, no one would even know about it outside of Pearson. But in this case, Pearson called it research. And for that reason, a lot of scientists are pretty alarmed by the fact that this company did not tell any of the 9,000 students that they studied or any of the 165 colleges and universities that were involved. In science, you don't do research on 9,000 people without letting them know that you're researching them. This isn't the first time a company has done something like this. You might recall back in 2014, Facebook got in trouble for the exact same thing when they decided to show some users a disproportionate number of depressing posts on their feed, with some people seeing more happy posts and some people, like me, seeing a seemingly endless parade of dead pets and divorce announcements. And Facebook's hypothesis, it was that Facebook can alter users' emotional states at will. If you don't know by now that Mark Zuckerberg is basically a supervillain, there's not much more I can do for you. Because Facebook continues to lead the charge of manipulating users in ways that are increasingly disturbing and that cause us as a society to reconsider our own privacy and what we're comfortable letting huge corporations get away with, just so we have 24/7 access to our aunt's top minion memes. When I was reading about the Pearson experiment, I actually found myself sympathizing with them in a way because I've worked in marketing and I've seen A/B tests done, and it's a normal thing that companies do. You don't want to roll out an initiative without testing it first. So it's normal to make very subtle changes to, say, the placement of your Google ads on your website to see which version of your website brings in more income before you launch it. But I thought, well, Pearson did screw up, though, when they turned this from an A/B test into a scientific experiment by publicizing the data, turning it into a research project, and especially for stating in their paper that they think that this shows that their programs can be applied to more scientific testing on educational hypotheses in the future. So they did. They definitely screwed that part up. You can't tell a conference full of scientists that they should start using your program for research and then prove it using research you conducted in flagrant violation of established and accepted scientific ethics. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I'm actually wrong. Even if Pearson hadn't published this as a scientific study, they would still be ethically in the wrong. A company like this owes it to their users to let them opt into serious testing like this. And it is serious. Pearson thought that they might actually be able to change people's rate of learning in detectable ways. A little heads up is the least that they can do to the people who are paying to use this service. For the record, their own test suggests some pretty mixed results. Students who got the growth mindset language were more likely to finish problems that they had started and more likely to solve problems that they got wrong at first. However, they were much less likely to attempt as many problems as the people who didn't get the growth mindset language. It's also worth noting that students don't use MyLab in a vacuum. There are instructors who had no idea that Pearson was conducting this experiment and whose instruction could unknowingly completely change or negate what the program was attempting to do. So this is not in any way the final word on growth mindset. And it's definitely not the final word on companies conducting testing on users without notification. I really hope that there's a bit of a backlash to this so that Pearson and other companies take note that people actually care about our privacy and what you're doing with our information. And I seriously, really do not want another Facebook feed full of dead dogs again. Please, Christ.